Well, the CIA backs a massive arms airlift to Syrian rebels. It hopes to wipe out the Assad regime once and for all. But new aid to the rebels could create even more problems than it solves. Details on that next. The agency is now financing and backing a major arms airlift to the Syrian rebels. According to a new report, it's a big escalation in U.S. aid to take down the Assad regime. But is it enough to end it once and for all? And if it does, what sort of blowback could we face from all of this? To make sense of it, I'm joined by Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, founder and president of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy. Welcome back to the show, Zuhdi.
Thanks, Sandra. It's nice to be with you.
So, Zuhdi, you're talking about a major airlift that's all-encompassing of parts of the Middle East and Turkey, and I want to name off that this includes assault rifles, machine guns, rocket-propelled grenades, anti-tank weaponry. Do you believe, with what you know of this situation, that this will be a game change and actually remove Assad altogether?
Well, Sandra, what's new is the report. This has been going on for months, if not a year, where the CIA covertly has been providing these arms. More recently, there have been over 160 flights of cargo weapons, over 3,500 tons. This didn't just happen last week. Now, the issue is it a game changer? Obviously, I think, very brave revolution happening in Syria, led by the Free Syria Army, has been fighting against insurmountable odds with a regime that's been flooded by the Iranians and by Russians and has killed almost 100,000 with 3 million displaced, and they've done so now almost 2 years, over 2 years and counting, with the simple weapons that they have. So certainly, if we weren't just leading from behind and having the CIA do it covertly, but rather leading from in front and helping the right ones, because remember, Sandra, this report shows that we're allowing Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Jordan, governments that are clearly not necessarily our allies, but rather helping Islamists and maybe helping the wrong groups in Syria, but yet certainly part of the rebels. And if we want to help the right groups, we need to take a leadership role in pointing out who we're helping and who we're not.
And Zuhdi, we're showing a map right now, the pipeline to the Syrian rebels, the arms pipeline. It's 160 military cargo flights by Jordanian, Saudi, Qatari military-style cargo planes. And while you say that this has been going on for quite some time, what's new in this report is that they're expanding this arms airlift, the CIA is. And I guess are you predicting that this will be a game changer, by the way?
Well, what's changing is that slowly but surely the Assad regime is failing. The Free Syria Army controls somewhere between 30 to 40% of Syria. And the continued arming of them has slowly been giving them more strength. The defections in the tens of thousands from the Assad regime continue to flow towards the rebels. But if it goes too slowly, we're seeing also the radicalization of Syria. And we're seeing which countries are flowing the weapons in. Qatar, Saudi Arabia. These are not governments that necessarily help people that are our allies, but help the Islamists, the Muslim Brotherhood, and their allies. So it's time that we not do this covertly, but openly, in order to get a shortcut to the end of this massacre that's happening of the Syrian people.
So, Zuhdi, if this is indeed effective and this does bring the Assad regime down, what sort of blowback would the U.S. face after all of that?
Well, the blowback would come. I mean, if we see in Libya, for example, we saw a lot of our weapons end up being used against us by radical groups. So we have to make sure that we follow those weapons, put homing devices so we know where they are. But this is a mess. So we can make what's the pathway forward? We either allow the Iranians, our biggest enemy in the region, to fuel the worst massacre that we've seen in the recent history, or we take sides, try to help the good guys, and then clean up the mess afterwards, hopefully better than we did in Libya. Because if we don't do this, Sandra, you're going to see a degeneration in the crossroads what Syria is into a regional conflict that's going to end up pulling us in anyway.
And real quick, Zuhdi, also the reports today showing that Syrian rebel fighters say Assad used chemical weapons against them today. This is obviously also changing. There's a half a dozen chemical weapon plants. This could turn things into an even worse direction at this point.
Absolutely, Sandra. And there's 5 major chemical depots in Syria that we have to be watching closely.
Yeah.
Last week, where we had Skyped with a hospital and some physicians that showed that there was a insecticide-tipped warhead that went off. So this is degenerating, and Assad is trying to do whatever he can to see, is this red line real, or is Obama dancing around the red line and it really wasn't real?
All right, well,
because he may end up finding a final solution later.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us with the updates on this today. Dr. Jasser, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Sandra. Appreciate it.